Hey, Lord of the Rings fans, welcome back. Roman Day Slayer. Today we're going to be looking at the last movie, The Return of the King, and things that I didn't like about the movie. Now, I know I'm nitpicking on a few of these, but these are just my choices. Agree, disagree, it's up to you guys, but overall, I thought the movies were great. Peter Jackson and his team at Weta Workshop did a fantastic job. The acting was good. Just minor things I didn't really enjoy. So the first thing we get to is the death of Saruman. Now, Saruman had a bigger role in this movie than he did in the book. But this scene is where he's definitely there. But he doesn't get killed in this scene. In this scene, in the Peter Jackson movies, he gets killed. They kill Saruman. But in the book, he doesn't get killed. So, in the scene, Grima gets bitch slapped by Saruman.
Tell us what you know.
Grima gets all pissed off.
You withdraw your guard, and I will tell
like a
you
lover's
where
quarrel.
your doom will be decided. I will not be held prisoner.
Comes up and stabs in the back a few times. Oh, Legolas shoots Grima with a bow, which definitely does not happen in the book. And then he falls down dead. Grima does, and then Saruman does, trips around and then falls. I'm surprised he doesn't bash his head against the side of the tower. And he lands on that. Now they don't show it, in this one, but the wheel mill, goes around, and then the palantir slips out of his hand, so Pipping can pick it up later. Never happens in the book. In the book, Saruman actually gets out of Isengard, out of Orthanc, him and Grima, and they head north to the Shire, where they start wrecking destruction, the scouring of the Shire. Saruman kicks Grima in the face. Grima gets up with a look of hatred, tackles Saruman basically, and cuts his throat. And then as he runs off, hobbit bows from local hobbits pepper him with arrows and kill him. Not Legolas. Again, they're giving Legolas more screen time. Make him look more heroic than he actually was, considering that he did the least of the 9 companions. So that's the scene I did not like. I wish they kept the original. I wish they'd gone back and did the whole scouring of the Shire as a separate little movie. That would have been cool as an add-on, but what can you do? So now we're back at Erebus. And they play this little drinking game between Gimli and Legolas, and Legolas wins. He just begins to feel tipsy while Gimli falls flat on his face. It's just completely stupid and pointless. They should never have added this. Again, it's giving these two more screen time. I like the part where Merry and Pippin are actually dancing on the table. That's fine. But the truth is they never went back to Erebus. King Theoden and Eomer and all the men that were coming back from the Hornburg, they went right up to Dunharrow. They were advised not to go to Erebus. So they play this scene. It's just completely stupid and pointless. They could have added so much more, like elsewhere, that would have made more sense. Now, another scene that bothered me was when Pippin goes after the palantir. Remember, he picked it up at Isengard. Gandalf rescued it from the pool, and Gandalf took it from him, and then he's itching with curiosity about what it is. So they're in Erebus when this happens in the movie, but in the book it doesn't happen there. It happens somewhere pretty close to the Fords of Isen, on the way to Isengard, on a place called Dol Baron, or Tol Baron, something like that. I can't remember the exact name for it. I have to go look it up again. Pretty close though. And then he takes a peek. And Merry isn't even awake at this point. He just goes back to sleep. But here he's all wide awake. Pippin looks at it. Fast forward it. And you got Legolas saying evil is here. Sauron's here. Giving Legolas more screen time so all the ladies can get wet. Get all giddy looking at Orlando Bloom. But it never happens. But other than that, it's a pretty good scene. They burst in. Everyone bursts in to help. Aragorn picks it up, which he shouldn't have, which never happened until later. And then Gandalf So they really made a mess of the scene, I thought, as a whole. Again, they should never have been in Erebus. Alright, next up, we got the reforging of Narsil. Now, in the scene, Arwen has a vision of what could be and what could not be. So she goes to the shards of Narsil. Now, my problem is that the shards of Narsil were supposed to be reforged during the Fellowship of the Ring. Before Aragorn sets out, he has the shards of the sword reforged because he carries it with him all the time as in memory. Now, I understand they have to give Arwen more screen time, and Liv Tyler does make a good Arwen. So Elrond goes to his smiths and has this blade redone at this point in the movie. I'm not a big fan of the forge. Elrond had all the knowledge of the smiths of Eregion, Gondolin, and also from Amon. He would have had a much better forge than that. It's like a basic backyard forge. He would have had a much more sophisticated forge than that. Alright, moving along to the next one. The next one is the lighting of the beacon towers. Now, so in the book, Denethor the Steward, he sends riders out to Rohan with the red arrow asking for aid. And on top of that, he also lights the beacons both north and south, calling for aid. And it's an ancient... Gondor had this set up a long time ago. It lets the people of Anorion and the people down in Pelargir to know that something's going on. And they're lit at times of war, calling for aid. Now, in the movie, they make it sound like Denethor didn't want to call them. Denethor was being a complete ass, didn't want help. Didn't believe it was going to help anyway. For whatever reason, so Gandalf decides to get Pippin to light the beacon. Now, I must have made this amazing shot of the beacon tower on top of Minas Tirith. So he does his thing. There's no problem there. Just where they do it. It's not Pippin that does it. Denethor makes the call himself and does it. They make it more dramatic than it actually is. And then King Theoden has to think about it for a minute, and then finally he says, we'll ride with Gondor. He was already ready to before that anyway. So they made Theoden look like an idiot. This next scene bothered me, where we got Frodo, Sam, and Gollum climbing the Endless Stair, heading up to Cirith Ungol and Shelob's lair. Now, they didn't rest very long. They wouldn't have gone to sleep on these stairs. They would have rested briefly, taken like pauses, and then kept going. Because it is straight up, and it's not the best place. And Gollum gets the idea of taking all the Lembras, crumpling it on Sam to make him look like he ate it all, and then throwing the rest down. Like, look how high they are. They wouldn't have stayed there. They would have kept climbing because the Nazgul could have came back. The idea... And then Frodo tells Sam to go home. Now, I understand that it creates a lot more tension and has the ring creating chaos within the little company. But Gollum didn't have to do that. Shelob would have did everything. He was hoping for Shelob. So I didn't like this scene. Sam and Frodo are never separated until Frodo gets stung by Shelob and Sam thinks he's dead. That's the only time they're really ever separated. And in the tunnels of Mount Doom, briefly, while Sam deals with Gollum. But then Sam goes back to him. Sam's the loyal guy. Nothing's going to happen. From a movie point of view, for people who don't know the book, that's great. But in reality, it never happens. The tension doesn't come until later.
Shut up, you! Go away! Get out of here! No, Sam. It's you. Sam.
But yeah, it never happens, and it kind of bugged me. Like, shouldn't have happened like that. Now, this next one really bugged the piss out of me. It's the sacrifice of Fmer. After the army of Gondor, or the garrison of Osgiliath, gets pushed out of Osgiliath by the forces of Mordor, and they fall back to the city. Denethor gets all grumpy and belittles his son, and then sends him back out to try and retake Osgiliath. which never happened in the book. In fact, they got pushed to the Ramus Ekor, defended the Causeway Forts, and then got pushed out of that back into the city. Fmer doesn't make any suicidal charges. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. As far as charges go, like Pickett's charge was just as dumb as Pickett's charge. Peter Jackson's kids are there. You don't send cavalry out into a city. Oh. And then Gandalf comes and says, don't throw your life away. That scene does happen in the book, but it goes earlier.
Where does my allegiance lie if not here? This is the city of the men of Númenor.
But he's not, Fëanor's not on horseback, it's in the halls.
I'll gladly give my life to defend her beauty.
If you're going to try and retake the city, then you get everybody. You get your infantry out, you get the whole army out. Look at this. They're going to try and retake the city with that many men. It's not going to happen. Gondor didn't have a large cavalry contingent. Gothmog was pretty cool. Yeah, the orcs, they're shooting from cover. Cavalry are not going to be any good. In the narrow streets of the ruined city, not going to happen. Plus, Osgiliath was, I think, walled at the time. There were walls within Osgiliath. Yeah, Denethor just eating away, and Pippin has to sing him a song. So yeah, I didn't like that scene at all. Just going ahead, moving ahead of this one. I'll play the whole thing. Dumbest thing I ever saw. Looks like he could be from Legend, that guy. All the arrows, archers, and he's got blood on his lips. Pretty dramatic. Now to end that scene, Faramir, he's the only one that survives, and he gets dragged by his horse to the city gates and they rescue him. In the book, Prince Imrahil comes to the rescue of Faramir and the rear guard of the army as it retreats from the Ramus Ekor. From the wreck of the Causeway Forts. And then Faramir is just wounded. So, didn't like the scene, hated the charge, dumb as hell. And Tolkien understood he understood warfare and military. Now we're going back to the Anduril, the Flame of the West. This scene bugged me because then you got Elrond suddenly appearing at Dun Harrow. Despite the fact that it's like 600 miles as the crow flies from Imladris to Dun Harrow. And Aragorn has his dream about the past of the dead. No. He's been reminded. He knows his own legacy. Don't need dreams and flashbacks, but it's for the people who don't understand the book. Then Aragorn gets summoned. It's all dramatic.
My Lord Elrond, I come on behalf.
Elrond is just a minor character in the whole entire Lord of the Rings and Hobbit. He's a guide who gives kind of good advice sometimes. He's there to advise and to lead things. From a counselor point of view, he doesn't have a lot of screen time. And then to say that Arwen is dying is just total bollocks. And he tells them about the Oathbreakers, and they have a debate about that. Then he just whips out the sword. Like, again, Monty Python. Strange women lying in ponds distributing swords. And here's Elrond distributing a sword. Aragorn is supposed to already have this sword right from Fellowship. That bothered the piss out of me. There are meaning behind swords. And then Elrond says, oh, that Sauron will be afraid of the sword. Well, he's afraid of it. He is and he isn't. With the sword you can do many things. Well, it's just a sword. It's the hand that wields it. So they go into that epic speech. So that scene bugged me, the fact that if anything, Elrond should have brought his sons and they should have fought. But what can you do?